Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Knowledge with Nandini. This is on stainless steel trays and reusable rigid containers. These are used as primary packaging material. Before I go any further, I really want to acknowledge and thank one person. He is Mr. Dinesh. He is the one who has not only encouraged me but virtually pushed me into making these videos. Otherwise, you would not have been seeing me today. Thank you, Dinesh Sehgal, from the bottom of my heart. Coming back to primary packaging, this means that items to be sterilized can directly put into such kind of packaging material. Trays and containers can be used for packaging, transportation, as well as storage of surgical instruments. Before sterilization, during sterilization, and after sterilization. At the end of a correct sterilization process, the products inside the sterilizer chamber are sterile. However, the air in the room where the goods are unloaded may contain dust particles, which may in turn carry microorganisms. So immediately when we remove the goods from the sterilizer, they would become unsterile if they are unwrapped. Also, these goods need to be stored before they are used. They need to travel through the hospital before they reach their destination. So, if not protected, the goods will be recontaminated by the time they are used. So, we are going to speak of trays and rigid containers today as packing material. Trays, as we all know, are generally made of premium quality stainless steel. They can usually withstand steam, ethylene oxide, and hydrogen peroxide sterilization. They can even withstand flash sterilization, which we now call as immediate use steam sterilization. They come in various sizes. They are usually rectangular and may or may not have a lid. They are made of stainless steel wire mesh or stainless steel solid sheets. In case they are made of solid sheets, both the bottom and the lid should be perforated to allow the entry of steam and the exit of air. Very, very important for sterilization. These trays need to be wrapped in flat wrappers, which we have spoken about in the earlier video. What are flat wrappers? Linen, paper, and SMS material. The edges of such trays should not be sharp, or else they will hurt you as also tear the wrapping material. Coming to rigid containers, they are self-closed sterilization systems which use filters or valves as a microbial barrier. There are several standards which regulate and oversee the use of these sterilization containers, whether they are the hard cases or the wrapped trays. Both are considered Class 2 medical devices by the FDA and approved as such. They allow the sterilant or the sterilizing agent to enter and exit the container, and they also permit easy air removal. They are constructed of anodized aluminium or stainless steel or plastics which withstand high temperatures, or fiberglass, or perhaps a combination of these. These containers have to be validated by the manufacturer for use in ethylene oxide, hydrogen peroxide, ozone, or flash or IUS sterilization. You need to have written or documented evidence from the manufacturer of the rigid container as to what types of sterilization methods these are useful for. It may be useful for one sterilization method, but not all cycles in that particular method. For example, in steam, they may not be suitable for gravity displacement cycles. Further, these reusable box-like structures must have a tamper-proof seal, and they do not need to be wrapped in linen when their filters and valves are in place and working properly. Disposable blue sterile wrap, which is used for one-time sterilization of instruments before surgery, often causes a large portion of surgical waste. So we can avoid the use of these by using rigid containers. Rigid containers may have internal baskets, and these may be of one or more layers. Again, these come in many sizes, and like trays, the containers may have solid or perforated bottoms. However, usually the solid bottom containers only are used in steam sterilizers which have dynamic air removal cycles. That means the air is removed by means of a pre-vacuum or by means of a steam flush and pressure pulse. When they have solid bottoms, they can also be used to transport contaminated moist instruments. Often, these baskets have instrument posts and dividers which help to organize the instruments. Before placing the clean instruments or items in the inner tray, the box and the lid themselves of the system should be inspected to ensure that the entire container is free from dents or cracks. The gasket should be soft and pliable or flexible. It should have no cuts, or it should not be broken in between. The gasket, the container's components like the lid, bottom, valve, filter mechanism, the securing mechanism, the latching mechanism, all must function effectively. The filter retention mechanisms, valves, screws and rivets should not be loose. They should be secured tightly. If they are loose, the sterility of the contents is in question. The mating surfaces, that means surfaces which fit into each other, and the edges of the container too and lid are free of dents and chips. The lid and the container should fit together properly and tightly. The filter retention mechanism and fasteners should be secure, not be distorted or have burrs. The latching mechanisms should function properly. The handle should be in working order. We should see that the integrity of the filter has not been compromised. And the valves are in working order. These are very important because they create the microbial barrier. Only filter materials that have been tested and documented to be efficacious in the specified container system by its manufacturer can be used. If the filters are disposable, a new filter should be used every time the container is sterilized. There is no point to have a lovely system with disposable filters and then reuse the filters. In the same way that the disposable SMS also should not be reused at any cost. It is better to search for an alternate method of packing than reusing these filters or these SMS packing materials. While using the valves or mechanical filters, they have to be tested for functioning properly daily or preferably before every use. How they need to be tested would be told to us by the manufacturer of the rigid container. Coming to cleaning, first of course we open the lid, then we remove the filter holder or the retention plate from both the sides. The valve type closures must be cleaned and put back after disassembling. The interior basket should be retrieved, and all the posts and the divider should be removed to facilitate cleaning. Usually we clean the containers and contents as given in the videos or manufacturer's IFU, instruction for use. However, if we don't have them, most container systems can be cleaned and decontaminated in mechanical equipment like washer disinfectors. Load the container into the mechanical washer, removing the lid and retention plate to ensure contact of the cleaning solution and water with all the surfaces. If you are manually cleaning containers in the OR or CSSD, use a soft lint-free cloth and a neutral pH detergent. Cleaning solutions such as quaternary ammonium compounds and phenolic germicides and alcohol are not recommended for these. The container's warranty may be voided or cancelled if the wrong type of cleaning solution is used. Be careful, these are very, very expensive commodities. Do not use abrasive cleaners or pads which scratch or metal brushes on them. Thoroughly rinse to remove all detergent present. Of course, we need to throw away the disposable filters, chemical indicators, the disposable labels and the locks which have already been broken before cleaning. Do not put any material inside the container such as mats or towels unless it has been validated and approved by the manufacturer and verified by us. A testing needs to be done by us whether all these things can go inside. Do not even put any trays of your own inside the container or a set of instruments which are already provided in another cassette or organization tray. Only the interior baskets which are provided with a rigid container and which are meant for it can be put inside. Even paper plastic pouches are not appropriate for use within these containers. For routine monitoring, one could place a CI, or in a large container, one could place 2 chemical indicators or CIs diagonally opposite to each other. We can use a type 5 or a type 6 chemical indicator, but for type 6 chemical indicator, we must remember they are cycle specific. So they should be used only in the specific cycle for which they are labeled. Outside, in a wrapped tray, we can have a class 1 CI unless there are already labels available and the chemical indicators printed on the label. Before placing items in the tray, that is pre-assembly, both the box and the lid of the container system should be inspected. We have already spoken about this. And all the other functions which need to be, checks which need to be performed before assembly. Coming to assembly, ensure all instruments, also as in the trays we keep, so also in the rigid container, they should be easily exposed to the sterilizing agent or the sterilant, and the baskets also which are placed inside the container should be large enough to allow the metal mass of the instruments to be distributed evenly. There should be no crowding, otherwise we need to keep some of the instruments in another container. As usual, we have already studied in assembly we have to disassemble all the instruments, whether they are packed in trays or rigid containers, and we should position the instruments with a concave or convex surface in a way that it does not retain any water or the water drains out. And also we should use racks or a stringer to open or unlock instruments. We have spoken about all this in detail in previous videos. Again, we have spoken about the weight, but since it's very, very important, I will mention again. The total weight of the container, along with the basket and the content, should not exceed 11 kilos or 25 pounds. This is very, very important. You won't get proper sterility, as you will also hurt the people who are working over here. It is okay if it is less than 11 kilos, but never more than 11 kilos. Again, I'm repeating, if disposable filters are used, a new filter has to be used each time the container is sterilized. And if mechanical filters are used, they need to be checked for their functionality before every use. You can use the sterilization time and temperatures as in your normal steam cycles, unless the manufacturer of the rigid container has some specifications for the sterilizer time and temperature. Sometimes, for example, drying times may need to be extended for proper drying inside the container. The manufacturer always has some claims, and he has validated the container for certain cycles or certain instruments. However, we need to verify this. Validation is done by the manufacturer, verification is done by the user, by us CSSD people. That is, we should actually put our product inside and see that the indicators are passing. The container should be tested with a maximum load by using biological and chemical indicators in hard to reach corners of the tray. We already mentioned we can put them diagonally opposite corners, 2 in each tray if there's more than one tray inside the container. We can ask questions before purchase, like how much does the container cost? I told you they are costly commodities. We should also find out which other hospitals are using a particular company's containers. What is their experience with those containers? Get a list of such customers and reach out to get their perspective and what lessons they have learned by changing from reusables like linen or disposables like SMS to these rigid containers. Different methods of sterilization may require different type of filters. For example, oxidative sterilants such as hydrogen peroxide or ozone require non-cellulosic filters. So we have to take all this into account when we use rigid containers, and then we can use these very, very successfully. That's all I wanted to say in this video. Thank you so much. Next time we'll take another packing material known as peel pouches.